I know that some of you only follow me because you've listened to Aaron and I go off on his channel about various topics, and you enjoy when I get overworked and I am angry and I yell and basically call out other people on their headassery. Boy, honey, do we have the video for you today. I won't speak for the entire D&D community, but certainly in this household and within the group of people that I personally know, we have a low tolerance for a thing we like to call assholes, which is exactly what we have here today. There's a lot to unpack with this story, but all you need to know going in is that a group of women were sought after, in a sense, in a post basically advertising that we have a woman-friendly, safe space D&D game that, we want to run, and, that was pretty much the basis of it. And then the GM proceeded to put the players in a situation where they were sexually harassed and assaulted by NPCs, and the whole thing is just a shit show that's just, it's delightful, it's delicious. Let's get into it. We are gathered here today to regale you of a story of cowardice, sexual assault, gaslighting, victim blaming, and betrayal. Several weeks ago, an all-female group of D&D players interviewed and was assembled for running a module. At no point prior to the interview did the DM reveal that they were male, which came as a surprise to us given the tone of the LFG listing. During our interviews and again in our session 0 together, it was explicitly outlined that this group was a safe place for women players to participate in D&D without having to deal with the harrowing sexism or related issues in our escapism fantasy RPG. We as a group have all had to deal with these issues in real life, and we're excited to be in a campaign where the DM was supposedly going to remove those elements from any pre-written content and make sure that our experiences were positive in that aspect. The campaign was going to be streamed on Twitch, and we were pretty pumped for this. Fast forward to the current times. Our group of adventurers were traveling to a new city and had to stop by a tavern on the way. As our PCs entered, we discovered a group of haughty, male, noble NPCs. They had bought out all the rooms and all the drinks the moment we asked about getting them. We wanted to leave, but we were informed that we and our horses would take a level of exhaustion and it would be very bad to do so. We attempt again to get the rooms in the tavern, and the NPCs are throwing sexist comments at our PCs and call us wet holes to fuck. Make implications that they'd like to take us back to their rooms and possibly rape us, while also provoking us by calling our half-orc mascot, who is played by a minor, racist slurs. There are people of color in our group as well. Not wanting to take this lying down, we retorted by having one person use prestidigitation to put some mud on the face of the NPC who called us wet holes for being a jerk. This is where things managed to get worse. Without any saving throws or any way to get out of the situation, our characters get grappled and pinned by NPCs, who turn out to be massively higher level than us and end up one-shooting several in the party later. Being in a situation where we were physically pinned by someone who already deemed you as a sex object is very triggering for a lot of us. Our mindset was immediately fight or flight on a level not usual for D&D, and many of us were still on edge because this scenario hit too close to real-life events we have experienced. Going into this scenario, my first thought was that these were going to be a bunch of women overreacting because some evil male basically shanghaied them into this all-women group. And I wasn't expecting the level of, understanding that these women have. Because seriously, they put up with a lot more than I would have. The blatant scumminess of setting a trap for a bunch of women by saying this is going to be a safe space where you're not going to have to deal with the kind of triggering scenarios that are described here, and then putting them exactly in that situation. We're gonna come back to that, but let's keep reading. We realize we can't win, but keep on fighting and trying to get away. Even going so far as to try and find a way to TPK one another so we can get out of this situation, as having our PCs pinned with the prior indication that they might be raped is not something any of us were happy about. Eventually, after the DM declines to let us just die, he offers to let our PCs leave if we personally strip our KO'd companions naked and leave our belongings behind. Dude, this guy, are you fucking kidding me? We announced that we were not comfortable Yeah, we announced that we were not comfortable with this situation and it was clear we were not having fun. Instead of apologizing for putting us in that instance, the DM attempted to backtrack after admitting he goaded us into confrontation by blaming us for starting the fight by using prestidigitation instead of turning around and leaving and suffering the consequences he said we'd have. Apparently, we're supposed to let NPCs objectify and threaten us because that's a fun thing to do. Now, imagine the situation with any other group of people. I can see it not being an issue. Like, it's kind of like cringy and kind of uncomfortable to me personally. That doesn't mean it's necessarily bad in and of itself. What makes this so gross is the fact that these women were deliberately avoiding this exact kind of situation. And then for them to tell the DM, like, to actually communicate, do that thing that I am constantly yelling about on stream. They did that, and then this guy had the cojones to sit there and tell them that it was their fault because they initiated an encounter. What do you think you're supposed to do in D&D, man? Like, that is some fucked logic. And listen, I don't like to take fantasy things, like things that happen in your imagination, and take them as seriously as like actual sexual assault. I believe that we are all strong and capable of dealing with our traumas. But that doesn't make it okay to impose that on people who told you, who communicated with you, and told you that this was not within their comfort zone. And at one point, I'm pretty sure it mentions that they covered that in an initial interview. So they go on to say, this was not received with open arms, and the DM did not seem to understand why. And then immediately skip to a scenario where our PCs are traveling on the road and get ejaculated on. Get ejaculated on by a field of jizzing mushrooms while us players sat there on the Twitch stream in disbelief that this was actually happening. Tone deaf much? Are you curious about the jizzing mushrooms? The context? The what? The why? The how did this even come about? Me too, man, but guess what never gets brought up again? The jizzing mushrooms will never be addressed through the rest of this, so sorry to disappoint you. I was also disappointed. I have several questions, and I'm not sure I want any of them answered. But wait, there's more. 6 of us players decided we didn't need to put up with this sort of behavior in D&D. This session egregiously violated the core principle of why this group was assembled in the first place. Yes, it was assembled specifically not to deal with that. We were very polite in composing a Dear John letter stating that we were not comfortable continuing the campaign with him after these events. The DM doesn't respond to our letter, and instead, several days after the letter was posted to our Discord, sends one of the female admins to basically ask us why we're being so offended over the situation, and to tell us that D&D was never a safe space. Oh no, is this lady me? No, I'm kidding, no. And to try to chalk up our responses as an overreaction to losing an encounter. This admin has absolutely no involvement or relation to us whatsoever, and attempts to use the fact that they were in the US Navy to explain why we're sensitive and need to get over it, and blames us for picking the fight in the first place. The DM, who is the only person who the letter was addressed to, has never responded to the group. What a fucking pussy. I'm so shocked. Can you tell how shocked I am? This whole situation was utter garbage, and I hope no one ever gets baited in by this DM like we were. It was really cruel and shitty, and the complete lack of accountability and responsibility by the DM is absolutely disgusting. So they have all of the receipts from all these conversations, but before we get into that, I'm going to go ahead and show you the original listing, the original posting where they were seeking these female players for a specific campaign so that you get the context of what I'm talking about here. I'd like to create a game with an all-female cast of players. I've heard from many female players over the years who have had less than enjoyable experiences at the game table. I'm seeking to offer a playing environment that will be safe and comfortable, playing with other nerdettes who enjoy and love the game as much as you. Bring your aggression to smash some kobolds and save the good people of Faerun as we make the best all-female adventuring party. If you think this is for you, please fill out the player application. The language in this posting makes it sound so much like, I think anyone would assume that the person who posted this was a woman because of phrasing like other nerdettes. We make the best all-female adventuring party. I don't know, it just comes off very much like they wanted it to sound like a girl would be the DM. But rest assured, that's only a sprinkle of the delicious scumbaggery that's going to happen here today. So here's a reading from the original breakup letter that they sent saying like, hey man, we're not cool with this, we're out. Hey DM, we've all been doing a lot of thinking after the last session, and we think it's best we call it quits. The campaign has been fun, and we appreciate that you addressed the situation with us afterwards. It touched on some issues that we are collectively uncomfortable with in a game, and feel that it's something that will stay in the back of our minds as we progress. We want you to know that there's no hard feelings on our end, and hope it's the same for you. It was an encounter that made us feel powerless and completely objectified, which are things that we experience daily. I'm sorry, I know that there's much more important things here, but like, daily? I know what you're gonna say. Listen, I'm on their side, okay? They're not in the wrong here in any way, but like, there's something about that just, it triggers something dark inside me because it's just that kind of language like, oh, we experience this daily and we need a safe space from it. I'm never going to get it. I'm not judging. I know it sounds like I am, but I'm really not judging if you feel like you need that for yourself. But there's just like that. Best of luck to you. Have fun in your game. I don't think we would enjoy playing a game together, but that's fine. Let's move on. We understand that it was meant to bait us into a fight, but it was done in a way that took control from us and placed everyone into a fight or flight instinct. This isn't to place blame on you, just to explain that we reacted as best we could, because in some form or another, we've all been in this kind of predicament in real life. D&D is meant to be an escape, but that encounter was uncomfortably realistic. We wish you all the best and hope that we can all continue being friends. Now, I don't know about you, but I feel like that was way more polite and level-headed and nice than the situation really even warranted. And coming from me, that's saying a lot. I'm not one to just dogpile people, okay? But given the obvious, very obvious trap that was laid here, which will become more obvious to you as we progress, it's just like, didn't deserve it, you know? And oh boy, honey, here it comes, the main attraction, the head clown, our court jester, deemed rando. Random person we've never spoken to shows up. Rando, your feelings are valid. So like I said earlier, the DM never actually responded to this very kindly worded letter, and instead, this female representative of his, I guess, starts talking for him in a sense. They've never heard from this person before, never had anything to do with the campaign, but for some reason is just sent in like a white knight falcon to defend the DM and basically try to explain to them why their opinions are wrong. Ooh, it's so good. Rando tells us, your feelings are valid. Though it's worth mentioning, I've been KO'd by guards many times for trying to outsmart them as a bard. We've had a few players die in our game for running recklessly. Sorry to hear y'all aren't going to join us in hell. It's been fun watching you. Going on from here, I'd like to try to just make this as entertaining for you as possible, but to be completely honest with you, like, the women in the Discord do a pretty good job of making all the exact same points I would make. Can we appreciate how right off the bat, this random ass person completely ignores the actual problem and treats it as if they're just like pissy because they lost the encounter that they initiated and therefore it's their fault. I don't know. But basically they frame it in such a way that it's like they're trying to say that they're upset that they lost an encounter and well, that happens. Like, Sorcerer then says, I understand that there are situations where characters get in over their heads and there are fights that the characters are not ready for. However, this encounter involved calling our characters nothing more than holes to be used and racist comments to a group of all girls where the entire purpose was not to have to deal with this situation. There was no player agency, no saving throws to start combat. I know it made me uncomfortable and I do not want to feel that way in a game meant for fun. I'm just gonna gloss over this real quick. The supposed racism here had to do with like some slurs that were thrown against the half-orc character, and like, you know, that's not great, but I mean, the whole racism and D&D thing is like a completely other video. Aaron and I have talked on it multiple times, but so, you know, we're just not even gonna go there. Just to gloss over it, let's say that I think that absolutely pales in comparison to what the actual issue is here, but thankfully they don't linger on it for too long. Wizard says, the inception of this group, from my understanding, was to create a space where women wouldn't have to contend with the toxic, often sexist encounters found in the TTRPG world. That is what we signed up for. To be baited into a situation where we either have to accept racist and sexist comments being made toward our characters or be penalized for it is not something I believe we were looking for in our D&D experience. The suggestion that we could either allow our characters to be sexually exploited by several NPCs throwing out commentary about betting our characters involuntarily or otherwise goes against the core tenets that this very group was established upon. It was never about the combat. Yes, the entire point of the entire group being put together was to avoid this kind of scenario. And at this point, I think you're probably able to start to see, as well as I did, that this is very clearly a trap that was laid by whoever made the original posting looking for players. Nobody is this, you know, dense. Nobody is this lack of self-aware. And I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that I don't believe for 1 second that Rando is anyone else other than the DM, who's probably pissy that he didn't get the reactionary reaction that he wanted on his stream so that he could, you know, basically use it against the fragile snowflakes or some shit like that. I don't know. I don't think that this person is any more than a sock puppet, but that's just speculation on my part, you know? Rando goes on to say, you do you, all feelings are valid. And then without anybody saying anything, a whole day later, one whole ass day, completely out of nowhere, Rando decides to just start it up again. Y'all insisted on fighting. You didn't need to rest. You just wanted to occupy that space. The rooms were paid for. Y'all objectively tried to steal the rooms. Feels like there's more to this. Wow, it feels like there's more to this. Almost like that was never the problem to begin with. Not to mention, steal the rooms? Okay, like, just, again, imagine any other party in this situation, okay? Any other group of players in this situation. What are they supposed to do? They're told it would be bad to leave. They were told that all the rooms and drink were taken, but don't leave because you'll get exhaustion. And they tried to get the rooms again. Like, what else are you supposed to do? Sleep with the wet holes guy? Like, fuck. That's because there is. I don't care that we lost a fight. I care how we were treated as less than nothing. Threatened with assault. If you're unable to see that, I'm sorry. Wizard says, I understand and respect your continued decision to defend the behaviors that led players to leave a campaign. I mean, more power to you, Wizard, because I don't. But what I don't quite understand is who you are in this context and why isn't the DM responding? Thank you for the condolences. I await response from the party we initially addressed. Yes, who are you? Who are you? Why are you here? Why are we talking to you? And I have to admit, like, I kind of find myself feeling at this point, like, why are you talking to this person at all? There's literally no reason to continue this conversation with them, but you know. I'm not going to sit here and lie. I probably would too. I know for an absolute fact that I would not shut up and walk away. Y'all know this. You know me. Rando, you assaulted them, the imaginary characters in an imaginary world. I'm responding because we thought it was best if a woman heard your concerns. Doubt. If this even is a woman and not just the DM using a sock puppet, this woman isn't hearing concerns. This woman... And I hate this word. I hate this word. I hate this non-fucking word. But I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna use it. Y'all ready for this shit? This is the most textbook example of mansplaining I have ever seen in my entire life. This rando is basically mansplaining why their feelings don't matter while repeating that your feelings matter and I'm listening. Let me make this abundantly clear since the previous iterations of this message do not seem to have been properly understood. This is not about the combat. This was never about the combat. This is not about us losing an encounter. This is not about rooms or gold or what have you. This is about a group of women D&D players who were gathered together specifically with the design of playing in a safe environment where we wouldn't have to deal with the elements of sexual assault, harassment, or the like, and we found ourselves goaded into a situation where that was put on the table. It never belonged at the table in the first place.
Yes.
Precisely. Next time I am towered over by a man making sexual aggressive comments, I'll make sure not to prestidigitate mud on him, I guess, because that's assault, apparently. Guess I learned my lesson. We weren't murder hoboing. Nothing we did has ever been considered aggressive in any D&D campaign I've ever played in. So get out with that victim-blaming mentality. I was never going to say anything on the stream about the situation, even when we were all dying. I was going to bring it up, the topic, in private after stream. It wasn't until we got to the leave your clothes behind moment that I fully snapped to. And I understand the idea of not having those experiences, so you don't know their optics. But playing in a game that was presented as a safe place without the supposed bullshit, I thought there was going to be a little more self-awareness. We all did. God help us. We all did. I am totally fine with having my ass handed to me in encounters meant to teach parties to run. It happens dozens of times. I am not fine with the aggressive sexual harassment leading to a physical pin with no save leading to a give us your KO'd friend's clothes. I play D&D to escape that exact bullshit. That exact bullshit. I don't want it in my game. I thought it was understood. Warlock. I don't like the way this has made me feel. I'm annoyed I have to defend my inherent emotional reaction to something that brings up real traumatic memories. I'm irritated I have to defend the decision I made for my own mental health. And I am flabbergasted that you, ma'am, are trying to spin it in a way that we are just pissy over losing an encounter. And this is the only time I'm going to say anything against the women, because they are 100% in the right. And this head-ass rando is completely 100% in the wrong and saying absolute clownery. But to this, you don't have to defend any of this to this person. This person had nothing to do with anything that you had going on, and you know that. There's no reason to defend yourself or your reactionary emotions for any of this. Why are you doing it? Who is this person? You know what I mean? Rando says, this is Dungeons and Dragons. It is not a safe place. People will die. There will be murder, guts, cursing, and fights. This particular campaign, No Room at the Inn, is written this way. Worse even. It is often yelled about on forums. The DM actually cleaned up the encounter for your group. Yes, throwing mud on someone is assault. The party also did their fair share of stabbing. This is not mentioning the initial reaction to murder everyone when one human confronted you. What? Initial reaction to murder everyone? I'm sorry. I thought the initial reaction was to walk away and leave, and their DM told them that leaving would be bad and stupid, and then the secondary reaction was to put some mud on the face of some fucking asshole being a fucking asshole. As opposed to what, madam? As opposed to just standing there and taking it? What? Who is this? What are you? I have seen people arrested for throwing a honey packet at a human, if that isn't the most random ass. Oh God. I served in the U.S. Navy. I have experienced many situations. I am crushingly aware of the reality women face. Games like this are a great outlet for reimagining better situations. I am not victim blaming. I apologize if I'm projecting that. I am listening to your concerns and attempting to help you understand the reality of the situation. You initiated a confrontation when you could have walked away. The DM let you walk away with your clothing and your belongings and alive. Most don't make it out so lucky. The DM let you walk away without getting raped, with your clothes and belongings. He let you. And you should be thankful that he allowed you to do so because he certainly didn't have to. Can you just taste the audacity? It is my favorite flavor. I am in no way trying to invalidate your feelings. Your feelings are 100% valid. Only you can know what's best for you. I cannot control how you feel or tell you how to feel. You are encouraged to do what is best for you. I welcome all participants to speak frankly. And oh boy, do they speak frankly. I cannot state this any more clearly. Go fuck yourselves. All of you. Every single one of you. Go fuck yourselves and take your toxic culture with you. Violence was never the issue. If this isn't a safe space, it should not have been advertised as one. It says DM advertised himself as a safe place for women because he claimed he knew how hard it was to find non-creepos to play with. I've played D&D for many years. This has been my worst encounter, so don't come into this conversation with, that's how Dungeons & Dragons is played. If you cannot DM without using aggressive sexual harassment, racism, homophobia, and xenophobia, then you are a shitty storyteller. Oh no, storyteller. Don't tell Aaron. We thought this encounter would be a reimagining of a better situation, i.e. we get to beat the shit out of sexual assaulters. I actually find that kind of interesting. Like, it sounds like maybe they knew that there were, like, some creepy dudes in this particular module. It doesn't excuse anything the DM did. I'm just saying, it is interesting that they were aware. But yeah, I mean, they were told that that kind of stuff would be, like, left out. So, like, it doesn't justify anything. I do find it interesting. Paladin. The reality of the situation is that we do not have to put up with anything we don't feel like putting up with, and frankly, it's none of your concern or business. Yes. Rando. I understand what the issue is. You were put in a situation that made you feel uncomfortable. This was not advertised as a safe space. It very was. To what I understand, you did not want to speak up while it was happening. That is also understandable. I hear you, DM hears you. I am not trying to belittle you. I am not trying to make your feelings seem an overreaction. Again, your feelings are valid. If you are not comfortable in this environment, you are welcome to leave the server. Wow, thanks for the permission. If any of you would like to continue the campaign or join another, you are welcome to say so or contact DM via DM. I apologize that you faced this and hope we can come to an accord. Can I just say for a second, I am so proud of this group of women. They're handling the situation way better than I thought they would when I went into this whole, like, rabbit hole of a situation. I really thought that this was just going to be a bunch of overreacting, like, feminist, man-hating things. The internet has conditioned me to think so. I apologize. But it's really not. And this dude, again, I still think Rando is the DM, is so butthurt that he's not getting the reaction that he's trying to goad them into. And he does actually, or I guess she, Rando, does actually start getting a little bit pissy at them for it, and it's delightful. Rando. He did say it would be safe from creeps, such as players whom push themselves on other players, i.e. having to work with players whom try to merge your characters more than you would like, via backstory, story interaction, or continually having to work with men that want to have kids with your character. That's why there was an initial interview. Wow, so it's a safe place from other creepy players. Warlock, oh, terribly sorry. I didn't know that creeps were just players and the GM was allowed free reign to be creepy. My mistake. See, I told you guys, these ladies just do a perfect job of writing my lines for me. At no point did I say the GM is free to be creepy. At no point did DM say the GM is given free reign to be creepy. Unfortunately, we can't read each other's minds and know what others will find creepy. Wow, we can't read each other's minds. We can't read each other's minds in a group that was specifically I'm gonna stop repeating myself. That is the dumbest shit anyone has ever said, ever. Warlock, he made a specific note to mention in the interview the creepiness of sexual harassment. We all agreed it's creepy. So not only do we have the common sense factor that this Rando is conveniently overlooking, they specifically outlined it in the interview leading up to the campaign. This dude has nothing to stand on. Is he really so short-sighted? or unaware that he would think that we would be okay with it? No. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say no. He's not that short-sighted. No one is that short-sighted or unself-aware. They're just not. This was completely bait. This was completely a trap. You all fell into it, and it sucks. You cannot look me in the eye and tell me that this wasn't engineered to gain a reactionary response that the DM, thankfully, just did not get. I don't know how this guy thought that this was going to go any other way, or at least any way that wouldn't make him look like a complete fucking ass, but you know. Listen, lady, I hope you break the chains of the misogynistic manipulation. Misogynistic manipulation. Say that 5 times fast. The misogynistic manipulation that this community or society put on you that has you defending torture porn D&D ideologies, and for you to shake this burning desire to defend a person who is fully capable to defend himself but doesn't. You made this a bigger deal than it was. We were all still fine with DM and just didn't want to play for the time being, and him using you as a woman mouthpiece / shield is deplorable. And Rando does not like this at all. I am chose to offer my services and he agreed. I am here of my own volition. I believe what I said is doing a lot of thinking after the last session, and we think it is best we call it quits. Thus, hearing why you would like to call it quits, I offer you to not. Well, you are more than welcome to take a break, but that was not what was said. I am here for clarity. Clarity of what? It was very clear. They're uncomfortable and they want to quit. If you want to know why they want to quit, ask them for clarity on why they want to quit. But you didn't do that, Mr. or Mrs. Random. You didn't do that at all. You tried to explain to them why their take on the situation was wrong while claiming that their feelings were valid, but also telling them your feelings are incorrect. I am sorry you felt the need to use force in your encounter, as you have learned from the patriarchy. You felt the need to use force in an encounter in D&D, and you learned that from the patriarchy. God help us, we have found the Queen Clown. Do allow me to present you with your crown, Monsieur or Madame Rando, for it has been well earned. I am sorry you believe condescending and calling me a dog is acceptable when I am here in peace. I ask again for the 3rd time, what would you like him to say? And then they quit the server. Thank God. Probably should have done that from the beginning. But let's be real, then I wouldn't have this delightful content that's taken me 3 separate attempts to record now. But it doesn't quite end there, because apparently anywhere you try to find this story, there's like some random ass person, a rando, that's trying to like cover it up and trying to like silence anyone who says anything negative about the DM, and also like call these ladies like straight up liars. But you know, that's to be expected with anything like this, honestly. But according to one person who claims to have actually seen the stream, they posted some quotes from it. And content warning, if you're uncomfortable with this, this is what they were referring to when they talked about the sexual assault. So you know, if you're uncomfortable with that, then this is the point to click away. You have been thrown to the ground. One of the men here looks distinctly different. He does not look as young as he did a moment ago. And there is now a very sharp bladed dagger to your throat. Your face and chest are now pushed to the table, almost like a police takedown. There is now a dagger to the side of your neck. To other players, you are also being held with a dagger to your neck. The judge is on top of you, with another dagger with the pointy end into your neck. You're not going to sit here and look me in the eye and tell me that in a situation where the NPCs were already like treating you like sex objects, literally calling you wet holes and talking about wanting to take you upstairs and involuntarily fuck you, that this situation wasn't sexually charged with the whole, they're on top of you, they've bent you over a table and they're putting a knife to your throat. I mean, I've seen people make the argument that, you know, that's how assaults are, you know, that could happen in any fight scenario, but no, you cannot be dense enough to sit here and think that that was not a deliberately sexually charged situation. And even if you tried, the jizzing mushrooms evidently followed that. Again, I'm extremely disappointed that that was never brought up again. There are more examples of people trying to shit all over them for trying to act like this was anything other than a typical, bar fight, basically saying that it wasn't a sexual situation, like there are all kinds of reasons why it wasn't. And one person even talked about how if it was a group of men that were being told to strip down or being put in this situation, that it wouldn't be getting as much attention or no one would care. And yeah, that's an issue, but also it's kind of the point. This group was supposed to not deal with these things. There are plenty of other ways to have encounters, to have attacks, plenty of other ways the situation could have gone down. I mean, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse at this point, but maybe you disagree with me. Let me know in the comments, please. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I've missed something. Tell me if you think that this was an obviously laid trap for these women, or if you disagree because you just don't have a brain. But seriously, really I would love to discuss this with anybody who thinks that this was not very clearly laid out deliberately to have this exact thing happen. I'm always open for discussion in the comments or on my Twitter, and that's all for today. Bye.